The United States, despite its democratic ideals, has an electoral system that has consistently marginalized third-party candidates. While these candidates occasionally spark public interest and influence political discourse, they have never managed to clinch the presidency. Understanding why third parties are perpetually on the sidelines requires examining historical, structural, and cultural factors that shape American politics. The two-party dominance. The U.S. political system is deeply entrenched in a two-party framework, with Democrats and Republicans controlling the narrative for over 150 years. This dominance stems from the country's winner-takes-all electoral system, which awards all electoral votes to the candidate who wins the majority in a state, no matter how slim the margin. Unlike proportional representation systems seen in many European democracies, where multiple parties can share power, the U.S. system offers no rewards for second or third place. This structural hurdle discourages voters from supporting third-party candidates, fearing that a vote for an outsider is essentially a wasted vote, or worse, a spoiler that helps elect their least preferred major candidate. The famous example of Ralph Nader in 2000 illustrates this dynamic. His Green Party candidacy is often blamed for siphoning votes from Al Gore, effectively handing the presidency to George W. Bush. Historical precedent. History plays a significant role in shaping voter behavior. Since the Civil War era, the U.S. has been dominated by two parties. This long-standing duopoly has created a sense of inevitability around their dominance, making it difficult for third parties to gain traction. Even when third-party candidates have gained substantial support, such as Teddy Roosevelt's Progressive Party, run in 1912, or Ross Perot's Reform Party bid in 1992, they failed to translate popular votes into electoral success. Roosevelt managed to split the Republican vote, allowing Democrat Woodrow Wilson to win, while Perot's nearly 19% of the popular vote, the most for a third-party candidate in modern times, yielded no electoral votes. Financial and institutional barriers. Winning a U.S. presidential election requires an extraordinary amount of money and resources. Major parties benefit from established donor networks, federal funding, and institutional infrastructure. Third-party candidates, on the other hand, often struggle to raise funds and gain access to resources. The financial imbalance also extends to media coverage. Mainstream outlets tend to focus on Democratic and Republican candidates, leaving third-party hopefuls with minimal exposure. Debate participation rules further reinforce this imbalance. Candidates typically need to poll at 15% nationally to join the debate stage, a threshold few third-party contenders ever meet. Ballot access challenges. Getting on the ballot in all 50 states is another significant hurdle for third-party candidates. Each state has its own rules and requirements, many of which are complex and onerous. Democrats and Republicans, with their well-oiled machines, navigate these challenges with ease. In contrast, third-party candidates must spend considerable time and resources just to meet the legal requirements for ballot access, leaving less bandwidth for campaigning. The spoiler effect and voter psychology. The fear of the spoiler effect weighs heavily on voters' minds. Third-party candidates are often seen as drawing votes away from the major party candidate closest to their views, thereby inadvertently helping the opposition. This dynamic creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Voters may support a third-party candidate in theory, but ultimately cast their ballots for a major party candidate to prevent their least preferred option from winning. For example, in 2016, Green Party candidate Jill Stein was accused of drawing votes away from Hillary Clinton in key battleground states, contributing to Donald Trump's victory. Such outcomes reinforce the perception that third-party votes are risky, discouraging their support in future elections. Cultural factors and partisan identity. American political culture is deeply polarized, with partisan identity playing a significant role in shaping voter behavior. Many Americans view their political affiliation as a core aspect of their identity, aligning themselves firmly with either the Democratic or Republican Party. This cultural loyalty leaves little room for third-party candidates to break through, as voters often see them as fringe or unserious. Additionally, the two major parties have become adept at co-opting third-party platforms. When third-party candidates gain traction by championing a particular issue, such as Ross Perot's focus on the national debt, Major parties often adopt similar rhetoric to appeal to those voters, effectively neutralizing the outsider's appeal. Electoral college dynamics. The Electoral college system further disadvantages third-party candidates. To win the presidency, a candidate must secure a majority of electoral votes, 270 out of 538. This requires broad nationwide support, a feat nearly impossible for third-party candidates who often have localized or niche appeal. Even if a third-party candidate managed to win a few states, they would likely lack the widespread backing needed to reach 270 electoral votes. Lack of grassroots infrastructure. Unlike major parties, which have extensive networks of local organizers, volunteers, and office holders, third parties often lack the grassroots infrastructure necessary to mobilize voters. Building such networks takes years, if not decades, and requires significant investment, resources that third parties typically lack. Conclusion: the uphill battle for third parties. The obstacles facing third-party candidates in U.S. presidential elections are vast and deeply ingrained in the country's political system and culture. From the structural barriers of the Electoral College and winner-takes-all voting to the financial and institutional dominance of major parties, third parties face an uphill battle at every turn. While third-party candidates have occasionally influenced elections and brought important issues to the forefront, their inability to break through the two-party system underscores the challenges of creating meaningful change within the current framework. Until significant electoral reforms are implemented, the presidency will likely remain the exclusive domain of Democrats and Republicans, leaving third-party candidates as perennial outsiders in American politics. Would reforms like ranked choice voting or proportional representation change the equation? Perhaps, but until then, the third-party dream remains just that, a dream.